Well, we have less than 4 weeks before the end of the year, and I've got about 3 or 4 edited videos I want to make. The first of which being Nixon Part 3 because I finished writing the script for that about a week ago, but I just haven't sat down to record the whole thing and, edit all the stuff. It's not going to be as long as Part 2 because I had to take the original contents for part 3 and split it in half because it's like 30 pages of a script, and I don't think my computer can handle a file that big. It probably, like, if I left it all as one video, it probably would be, if not 2 hours long, then pretty damn close. It's just way too massive for one part. That being said, I'll try to record it and hopefully edit it this weekend. I'm not working, so I guess I have a few days to just go through it and put all the pieces together. The other one is a video that will talk about this whole job situation where I've been very fascinated by how a lot of places, they put up the now hiring signs, they make it sound like they need somebody. And in spite of that, there's been this constant stream of just, nothingness, time wasting. I actually uploaded a video a few days ago. It's called Predicting a Waste of Time. And it was me talking about how I didn't want to go to this job interview because I felt like they were probably going to stand me up like these other places I've been doing. And I bit my tongue and showed up on time. And it played out exactly as I thought it would, for the most part. I got there, I was on time. The person who's supposed to interview me is nowhere to be seen. Sounds familiar. There's a person who's like, "Oh, but I can interview you because the person I wanted to interview is not here as well. Just give me 10 or 15 minutes. 10 minutes pass, no interview. 15 minutes pass, no interview." And eventually I ended up sitting there for a literal half hour just waiting to be talked to. And I said, what's the point of me sitting here and giving them all this extra time if I'm probably not going to be hired anyway? So I just got up and left. Um, that actually played out pretty similarly to a interview I had for, I think it was a caregiver job back in like November of like no like 2 years ago, November of either October or November of 2022, and it was the same thing. I show up to a location, I'm there on time, and I'm just sitting here waiting, waiting, waiting. It totaled to roughly 40 something minutes, and I started to consider just getting up and leaving. But eventually, one of their employees fetched me, and they showed me around this facility that they were running. And in spite of all that waiting, in spite of them appearing to be receptive to me coming in as a supposed candidate, I was never called back. I was never contacted about starting there because all this stuff is just a giant waste of time, more so than it has any right to be. So that's going to be a video I do. It'll be something to the equivalent of getting a job is impossible, or getting a job or a second one is impossible. And it just talks about all the different ways that you can have your time wasted by places that want to appear like they're receptive to you. As I've mentioned a few times, I've had issues with getting a job in the past, but I've never seen such an influx of places setting up interviews, like requiring you to drive to go and talk to them, and then standing you up, just not holding up to their end of the bargain, just wasting your time over and over. And as this one person I was talking to about it said, they are completely insulated from any consequence for their actions because they have a job, you don't. So if they want to sit there and basically just blow up your morning or afternoon or evening with this you know instance of them wasting your time, they can do that. And it would also talk about how there's like this paradox where you get a job like I did, and it might start off good in terms of you're making some money and it's enough for you to pay for whatever little crap you're paying for, but then your circumstances change, um, or the job gives you less hours like mine's is doing, and it makes it to where, like, I remember being really afraid back in February or March that I was going to get fired because one of these clowns I've talked about tried to get me in trouble. It didn't work the way they wanted it to. But I thought it was so interesting how, like, if that were to happen now, I don't even think I would care because I only am getting two shifts a week for like almost a whole goddamn month. So it's like the lack of uh effect that having the job has on my, day to day or week to week existence makes it to where I'm like not even bothered all that much if I'm just let go of altogether, because you're already basically pushing me out the door in this like backhanded way. So yeah, those are the two videos I'm definitely going to edit and put up before the end of the year, and then possibly a third one about all of this. And this is more of a philosophical video where it's just kind of talking about a belief I have, and which is there has to be some growth for a person financially if they're going to live 10, 20, 30 years as a worker, like as an employee, as a person who goes to a 9 to 5 or clocks in however many dozens of hours a week. And when I see people, and I know multiple of them, who are almost 50 and they are just as financially destitute as they were 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it drives me insane, because this has been the first year where I have made less money than ever before, like had less when I ended than when I started. And that was all due to this whole lousy situation with the job not giving enough hours and having to pay all this different stuff and having no support. Just like I know the factors that led to that, but at least I could say, okay, I've attempted to change this. With these people, they will sit there and have their entire check eaten up by rent or however many kids they decide to have, and just they don't think it's weird. They don't think there's something wrong with living that way. So I'm definitely gonna be making that video as well, because it's just me venting about how there is, for me at least, there's a certain like standard I have of living, and I can't imagine being satisfied with an existence where I'm afraid that I'm not gonna have enough money, after being alive for a literal half century. And I talk about how with a lot of younger people, there is this idea that, okay, they're going through school or whatever, they don't have that much, but they might have some later on, a few years, whatever. With these people, I really wonder, like, what are you waiting for? Do you just expect that you're gonna, I guess, meet somebody and they're gonna just be rich? I like it. It's just a really backwards delusional, and they have dragged others down with them. They're constantly asking other people for money or trying to squeeze something out of somebody. It's just a really disgusting, sad cycle. But that's one that'll probably it's one of those things where, like, I have days where I'll just start writing something, a lot of it in one day. That's something that might be closer than the other two. So yeah, those will be my attempts at doing edited stuff before the end of the year. And I don't have any like set deadlines. It's just me reminding myself that there's stuff I want to write scripts for.